There's a dangerous kind of silence in a home, not the kind that comes when children nap or study. No, the kind that settles too easily, too quietly, like dust on a forgotten shelf. It was that kind of silence that crept through the Surprise household one humid Saturday afternoon. Mr. Surprise, an overworked insurance analyst with a neat tie collection and a head full of numbers, had just returned from a half-day shift. His briefcase was by the door, his tie loosened, and his shoes already off. He stretched his aching feet and collapsed into the living room chair with a deep sigh. "Where's Ade?" he asked, rubbing his temples. "Watching TV with Kenny," Fumi replied from the dining table, barely glancing up from her laptop. Her job as a remote financial consultant meant she was always home, but never quite present. Deadlines didn't wait, and neither did client emails. Mr. Surprise exhaled in relief. Good, as long as they're not tearing the house down. Neither parent asked what they were watching.
The smart TV, a recent gift from Mr. Surprise's promotion, gleamed like a gateway into every possible world. But one thing hadn't been said: parental control. The little padlock icon meant to guard young eyes had been skipped over during setup. Just one more checkbox among many, ignored in a rush of grown-up distractions. Upstairs, in the cozy den, Ade and Kenny sat cross-legged, transfixed by a steamy romantic drama that had autoplayed after a cartoon episode ended.
The show was clearly meant for older viewers. A man and a woman lay wrapped in white sheets, whispering sweet nothings before leaning in for a slow, deep kiss. Kenny tilted her head. "Are they fighting with their lips?" Ade chuckled nervously. "No, I think it's what big people do when they like each other." "Like Mummy and Daddy?" "Maybe." Their eyes remained locked on the screen. The soundtrack swelled. The couple's hands wandered. Neither child could fully process what they were seeing, but a mix of curiosity and mimicry bubbled in their young hearts. Innocence isn't destroyed in an explosion. Sometimes it unravels slowly, one scene at a time. Minutes passed. The TV kept playing. Fumi glanced up at the clock and frowned. "They've been quiet for too long." She paused, then called out, "Ade! Kenny!" No answer. She called again, sharper. "Ade!" Still nothing. Her fingers stopped typing. Her chest tightened. A mother's instinct activated. She stood, padded up the stairs, and approached the door to the den. Inside, Ade and Kenny had paused the TV and sat on the rug, facing each other. They weren't sure what kissing truly meant, but they were moments away from trying. Just as Ade leaned in, the door flew open. Fumi stood there, eyes wide, heart frozen. "Ade!" He jerked back. Kenny gasped. The silence shattered. For a moment, no one spoke. The paused TV screen still showed the couple mid-embrace, an accidental teacher with dangerous lessons. Fumi's voice trembled, not with anger, but disbelief. What are you watching? What are you doing?" The children scrambled, stuttering half excuses they didn't understand. Tears welled in Kenny's eyes. Fumi turned off the TV with shaking hands and knelt before them, her face softening. "My darlings, where did you even find that?" Ade sniffed. "It just played, after the cartoon." Fumi closed her eyes. Guilt crashed over her in waves. Fumi stood still for a moment, her hand still on the TV remote, her heart pounding as if she'd just seen an accident almost happen, because, in a way, she had. Her voice was calm, but firm, the kind that came from the depth of a shaken but thinking parent. "Both of you," she said, gently touching Ade's shoulder and Kenny's hand. "Come with me." She led them downstairs, into the living room, where Mr. Surprise was already dozing off with his head tilted back. As they stepped in, his eyes cracked open, slowly adjusting to the sight of his wife's expression, a mix of worry and urgency. "What's going on?" he asked, sitting up. Fumi glanced at him, silently telling him, "We need to handle this together." She nodded at the children, who now sat on the couch looking like they'd just been called to the principal's office. Mr. Surprise's eyebrows furrowed. "Kids, what happened?" "They saw something they shouldn't have. On the TV, a kissing scene. More than kissing, actually." There was a pause. Mr. Surprise exhaled and leaned forward. "No parental control?" She shook her head. "I forgot to enable it." The living room turned heavy with silence. Fumi sat across from the kids, and Mr. Surprise joined her. Both parents faced them now, not with scolding eyes, but with intentional presence. No distractions, no rushing. "Okay, we're going to talk, not shout. You both aren't in trouble, but we have to be honest with each other." Ade stared at his socks. Kenny kept glancing at the floor. "What you saw on the TV, that's not meant for kids. It's a kind of love, physical, yes, but it's something you need to understand much later, not now." Fumi leaned in. "And trying to copy what you saw, even if it seems harmless, it can confuse your minds and even harm your hearts." Kenny's voice finally broke the silence. "Are we bad?" Fumi's heart broke. "No, baby. You're not bad. You're curious. That's normal. But we, the adults, we failed to protect that curiosity." Mr. Surprise rubbed the back of his neck. "We should have locked that content. We should have talked to you earlier about the difference between what's on screen and what's real." There was a long pause. Ade finally spoke, his voice brittle. "They looked like they were in love." "Yes, but love isn't just touching or kissing. Love is responsibility. Love waits. It thinks about the other person's heart. It's not something you rush into, and definitely not something you learn from movies." Kenny looked at her hands. "But it looked nice." Fumi nodded slowly. "It's meant to look that way. But just like sweets can give you cavities if you eat too much without understanding, some things on TV, even if they look sweet, can leave your mind confused." She smiled gently and reached out to hold their hands. "That's why we're here, to help guide you until you're old enough to understand the difference between story and truth." After that, a light spirit replaced the heaviness. There were no more tears, but rather a genuine desire on both parts to understand. Later that evening, Fumi called Kenny's mother, Mrs. Adegoke, and explained everything, gently but truthfully. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. "I never even thought about setting up the control settings," Mrs. Adegoke admitted. I thought cartoons would be enough." "We all do, until it's not." They made plans to sit down as families the next weekend and discuss screen boundaries and child-safe media. That night, after prayers, Fumi tucked Ade into bed. "Mummy?" he asked, eyes half closed. "Yes?" "If we're curious again, can we just ask you?" She kissed his forehead. "Always." The next day, the TV settings were completely overhauled. The parental lock was activated, and a colorful list of kid-approved shows replaced the autoplay feature. Mr. Surprise even installed a timer. No more screen time without supervision. Kenny came over later that afternoon, and instead of heading for the remote, the kids sat on the floor with puzzles, a bowl of fruit between them, and comic books spread out.